I want to switch to the Super Bowl because I know the ratings are starting to roll in, and there are, as always, tends to talk about that. So, where do you want to begin on the rings, and what did we see?
Well, let's just note here, Adam, and I think it's no shock. As of right now, as we do this segment, we don't have the national numbers yet, but we have the market by market numbers. And this Super Bowl rated better in Boston than it did in the Tampa market, the hometown, which is sort of remarkable. It's funny. People are laughing about this on Twitter, but it's also not surprising. I think it's a reminder that, Brady just left New England and he still has a lot of fans there. I mean, I'm from New England. I'm a Patriots fan. I didn't see all this as woe is me. This is so sad to see. I was rooting for him. I loved it. I saw some tweets from people saying, oh, Patriots fans are hating this. Not the case. I was enjoying it. I was rooting for him and for Gronk. I think it's great. I hope he wins more. Clearly, he's not going to retire. We'll wait on the national numbers. I don't think it's going to be the most watched Super Bowl ever, but I think the numbers will be decent. Of course, it was no longer very close after halftime, and that always hurts. A lot of people probably tuned the game out. But in that first half, you probably had good numbers, and we also know it was a year like no other. It was the pandemic season, and the NFL lost more than $3 billion in revenue, but the league's going to be just fine.
And Dan, speaking of the pandemic, I know when we talk about the game, we also have to mention the commercials because a lot of people watch for the commercials as well. And a lot of the commercials this year were directly tied to what's been happening over the last 10, 11, 12 months when it comes to the pandemic. I'm curious just to get your thoughts on what we saw yesterday and if there were any ones that specifically stood out to you.
Sure. Very quickly, I'll point out the two kind of things that most stood out to me. First of all, mortgages. I mean, mortgage ads was the name of the game, the biggest theme I saw, at least. I mean, yes, you saw the usual beer, you saw DoorDash and Uber Eats, the food delivery guys, but I saw more ads for mortgage-related services, I think, than anything else. And it's just a sign of the times. I mean, rates are very low. We're hoping to see the economy claw back. We've also seen an exodus from the cities into the suburbs. A lot of young Americans are maybe looking into buying a home for the first time. So you saw a lot of mortgage-related ads. I remember I wrote down on my phone, geez, mortgage ad, mortgage ad, mortgage ad. The other theme that I saw, streaming services. We saw an ad for an M. Night Shyamalan movie that's going to come out on streaming. We saw an ad for Marvel's next up original Marvel series. We've got WandaVision on Disney Plus right now. Marvel advertised The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is its next Marvel spinoff show. And then Paramount Plus, which is the revamped, rebranded CBS All Access, because CBS All Access has not done very well. So instead, they're calling it Paramount Plus. And I saw, I think, 5 different ads for Paramount Plus. My goodness, they were really pumping that thing. And I didn't see many people loving those ads. They didn't think they were so funny. So we'll see how Paramount Plus does. And the one other thing I mentioned, guys, there was so much made before the game of how Budweiser isn't doing a Budweiser ad. First time in 37 years, no ad for the Budweiser brand. Well, it was a technicality because there was a big Anheuser-Busch ad that was really meant to cover all of its brands, Michelob, Bud Light, and Budweiser. So it kind of felt like there was a Budweiser ad. And I thought that was a great ad. That was one of the best ones about how, hey, want to grab a beer? And it's never about the beer. I never kind of feel moved by a beer ad, but I got pretty close with that one. I liked it.
Dan, I'm happy you pointed that out because that was the exact discussion that we had yesterday in the middle of the game when we saw that ad starting to play. Real quick, just curious, as we wrapped up the NFL season, just to get your thoughts. And I know we've talked about it so many times during the season, but the way the NFL handled the pandemic, and if there's anything that you think we could expect here or anything that we could learn from as we change our focus to the NBA and the MLB and the NHL over the next couple of months.
Well, guys, when you have the pockets to afford it, the daily testing is a remarkable thing. People were so busy criticizing the NFL for allowing fans at any of the games. And, I'm not to comment on that, but it sort of got lost in the shuffle that the NFL didn't have to cancel a single game. I think that's remarkable. No one really wants to praise the league, but there were games that were moved. More than 15 of them had to be rescheduled, but they all ended up getting played. No game was completely canceled in the regular season. And I think that was remarkable. So the league got through its season, and it got kind of a dream Super Bowl matchup at the end, although it didn't work out that way. People thought it would be such a great close game, and it wasn't. But in the end, to me, even though the pandemic was such a factor and there's so many pandemic-related effects, I still think sports betting was the story of the season. I mean, every week we saw DraftKings or FanDuel or BetMGM announce another partnership with a team. We're now the official betting partner of the Vikings or the Titans. And I think you're going to continue to see that, especially as more and more states legalize. The growth of sports betting market by market is really remarkable. And the NFL was the last league to kind of jump in, but now it has jumped in.
All right, Dan Roberts breaking all things down for us for the NFL. Thanks so much for jumping on here and joining us again today. We'll talk to you soon.